Right. So good afternoon again. Well, good evening, I guess, whenever we reach this time of the day. But I've been going through the whole gambit for the morning, right? So good morning to the first class, good morning to the second class, good afternoon. But I guess good evening to you, all right? And we are on the three reasons to manage health and safety. There is already some videos on YouTube on this, right? And they do pretty well as well. If you want, you can check hopefully you all have subscribed, or check up the YouTube channel, Shadrach Safety Institute. Most of the lectures are there. I was telling you all, I do tend to stagger them, but if you want like a lesson there, it's already there. I think moral, of course, is there from last week, but even sessions before you all then, right? Like you have videos with financial and legal reason to manage health and safety. So today is that we're going to look at financial now. But just to remember that there were three main reasons to manage health and safety. So there was the moral reason to manage health and safety. See if you remember what that was all about. I'll ask it just now. And remember you all on recording for YouTube, right? And then there's the financial reason. We're going to do that now. We're going to start legal. I don't see us finishing legal. Legal itself is long. But what I was saying to you all, right, is that we will do enough to do a past paper with legal. You see what I'm talking about? Because remember, it's an open book exam. And so you can use the slides. And if all the laws are on the slide, then you can just use the slide to answer the question anyway, right? Anybody want to tell us from what you remember? The first one, right? Like what was moral all about? Like why was it important? Why was it
Mm.
important to have,
Moral,
yeah,
the moral is your right to life, liability, freedom of speech,
very good.
right?
And is that something that the employer want to provide for employees?
Yes.
Yes, right. Okay, yeah. So remember that's your basic human needs, a basic human rights. And you are, well, not you are, but your employer now should have you in mind, right? That you are a fellow human being and they should take care of your safety because it's the right thing to do. We mentioned some of that last week anyway. Now, moral is a little bit moral is a little bit, what's the word? Abstract, meaning, it's dependent on a person's consciousness then, right? That you would take care of another person. Moral is not written down anywhere. Moral is not written down like the law there. Like you say that the employer has a moral reason to manage health and safety, but it's not written down anyway. It have to do with the person consciousness and how you think about life and stuff like that, right? But of the three of them, moral, legal, financial, in that order, right? I wrote it in the wrong order here because I'm doing it how the book have it, right? The book have financial next and then it have legal, right? And we do that same thing on the
Okay,
slide as well, right? So
guys.
we do moral, financial, and legal.
Hello. Hi. Are we
Hi.
supposed to have a textbook? Sorry, excuse.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Uh,
If you don't have the book, then you follow through with the slides, right? It's the same information presented in the book, same information on the slide. Those of us in the book, and some of y'all got it, some of y'all we should be on page 4. It's the same information that you're looking at here that is in the book,
where was
right?
the book supposed to be purchased?
You can pick them up at the office. You don't have to purchase them. They come with your first payment.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. All right. But again, like what we tell our students, I mean, like I guess if you have it, you either choose to look at the book or look at the slide because you can't really have one idea and one eye here. But look, I have mine in the desk, but I'm looking here. It's the same information we reproduce on the slide. And remember, most tertiary education present from a PowerPoint, sort of lesson anyway. Even if like we have the book, we may have it in a soft copy, but still it wouldn't look the same now. So we pull out the main points and we created a PowerPoint of that particular lesson. It's the same information you'd see. In fact, some cases the PowerPoints would have more information than the book, right? So whichever one you have, just look at the one you have. If you have the book, you could look at it. If you have the slide, look at it. The slide would have more points. You see what I'm talking about? Like when I create them, I create them with more points then. You'll see what I'm talking about. Like you'll see way more points, right? Than you'll find in your book. I'll prove that to you if you have your book, right? But like the same information then, so you could hear it here, you could see it here. Just choose one that you want to look at, right? So because it's a presentation and it's not like primary school, most tertiary education institutions like present from a PowerPoint then, right? Even if there is a soft version of this, it doesn't look the same. It looks a bit jumbled up. So most presentations in universities and stuff is from a PowerPoint presentation, right? So with respect to if I could get back, but did I finish moral? I wasn't sure if I finished moral, but I was saying with moral is up to the employer then as a human being to provide for your needs. And I think I was saying of the three of them, the order is actually moral, legal, and financial. But how it is on the syllabus and the slides and the book is actually moral, financial, legal. Doesn't really matter the order, but what they were saying is that moral is the highest duty there, is the highest order out of the three of them, right? Like if you can get somebody to manage because it's their moral duty, you don't have to depend on the law because the law, they say, is the least of all the reasons. The law is the least. But I think humanity has gotten to a point where we need the law because people can't manage themselves then, right? Nonetheless, that's not the topic. The topic is there are three reasons to manage health and safety: moral, legal, and financial. We have done moral before. The highest order of management is that you take care of your fellow man then as you would take care of yourself. Let's get to financial. So what financial is based on, see if you get it, listen a bit, right? I'll just do the explanation for you all. So financial, listen a bit, right? I'm gonna have to take off what I wrote here because I may need this space, right? So what financial says is that when an accident happens, there is a cost, right? But one of the early psychologists, and this information is not in your book, right? One of the early psychologists, remember, folks, there's a degree to this, and not everything is taught at the certificate level. Certis to get you as a safety advisor. The NEBOSH diploma and the other programs we have is to get you as a safety manager, but you don't need the others. Remember, to get in, if you check most vacancies, you're going to see NEBOSH certificate. This is what we're doing, the real NEBOSH certificate, not the imitation, not the one from Guyana, not the one from the ILO. This is the real one we're doing here, right? The only difference is that we're not in the UK, or at least I'm not in the UK right now, right? But even if I was, it still is the real NEBOSH certificate. So the psychologists were behind this, and there were lots of them, but one of them, his name was Heinrich, right? Heinrich, and Heinwrich. He was a German. And one of the things he said is that when an accident happens, you have two main types of costs then. You have what is called the direct cost and you have what is called the indirect cost. And if you look at the picture, he drew the analogy. I'm going to show you the picture first, right? He drew the analogy like to an iceberg, like the Titanic, right? So yeah, they shouted iceberg, and this how the theory goes that they hit the iceberg, and that was enough to sink the ship, right? But then the part of the iceberg you see is not as big as the part of the iceberg that you don't see. So Heinrich had suggested here that there are two costs of an accident, the direct cost and the indirect cost. And the indirect cost is about 36 times what you thought the original cost was going to be, right? So over the decades, though, because that was actually in the early 1920s, scientists have said it's more like 8 times, but they left Heinrich figure here. So they say it's like 8 to 36 times what you thought that you were going to pay, right? So what you need to see here is that you need to write that down, right? There are two costs of an accident if you want to take anything down. And the direct cost, right, is like the cost that you see. The direct cost is like the iceberg, the part that you see. And then there's the part that you don't see. And the indirect cost is the part that you don't see. And he was saying, but that's going to be more. It's going to end up paying more than, right? You're going to pay more than what you thought that you were going to pay. So the direct and the indirect costs, right? His original estimate was 1 to 36. And most people leave the 36, but you know, they have said some people say 11. So they just be fair. Most academic places, you know, just be fair and they say 1 to 36 or 8 to 36. One for the direct, sorry, but 8 to 36, right? And that kind of wraps up the fact that the indirect cost is more than what you thought you was going to pay. The indirect cost then is like the knockdown cost, the cost that you didn't think about at first, but it comes back to bite you then, right? The cost that you didn't think about at first. Make some notes if you want, right? But it comes back to bite you, the cost that you did not think about at first, right? So I draw a little mind bubble here, right? All right, moving on. And so what we need to do, and then, so this is an exam question. That's why I'm kind of stressing on it a bit, right? So what we need to do, we need to kind of delve a bit more into this, right? So, and then I'll explain the word that you see on this slide, right? Which is insured or uninsured, but it's the same thing. That word is not very important for exam, right? All right, let's talk about it. So the direct cost is the cost that you see, right? Or that the cost that you could estimate. The cost that you see or the cost that you could estimate, right? So if there's an accident, God forbid, let me give you a simple one, right? I mean, there's no such thing as a simple accident, right? But I'll try to make it simple, right? So let's say a trailer truck, right? Reversed onto a company's gate a bit hard. Let's say the gate was an electronic gate, right? So one of the, or some, but I'll just probably do two because I want to move on, right? This is, remember with the NEBOSH exam, they give you a case study and you could get it from the case study, right? So one of the costs that you can see is probably the damage to the gate, right? If you had to go down on the scene, right, you would see the damage to the gate. You can take this down for me. You can just take one or two down. The damage to the gate. And if we say this is an automatic gate, right, we can probably say this may cost about, I'm making up a figure, right? I'm making up a figure. I'm going to put 3,000 TT dollars, right? So another damage you could see is perhaps that worker may have complained about some pain, right? Now you mightn't be able to see the injury because remember you're not a doctor and stuff like that, but you can see the guy in pain, right? Maybe he has had a bad back from another accident, or maybe what happened did actually cause some back pain to him, right? So you have to send him to the doctor, right? Now, most companies may have a private doctor, and if it's a big company, right, you may send him to your doctor. You may have to get him. I mean, all of those is a cost that if you have to get him even to the hospital, it may be transport, right? So, or if you did use the ambulance services, the point I'm trying to say is that he might not be on work then, right? So there's a cost. I'm going to put 400 TT dollars here for a doctor visit. Maybe the company does have a private doctor. Now, he wouldn't have to pay, but the company would have to pay the doctor 400, maybe 500 TT, right? If the person now is away from work, right? Let's say he gets 3 days off because of whiplash or something, right? 3 days off. Okay, you said, okay, he was working for, I'm giving you a figure again, right? It doesn't have to be a correct figure. Let's say he was working for $500 for the day. So that's 5 3, that's $1,500 for the day, right? So you're understanding that the direct cost, if you understand what I mean by seen, the direct cost is a cost that could be estimated, covering the cost of injury, ill health, and damage. I have some on the other slide too. We'll turn it on your scene a bit. It's an open book exam. You don't have to study. You could just open back the slide and get it. What is important is that you understand, because what NEBOSH will do, they will ask you, what is the direct cost? However, the most common question is, what is the indirect cost? And you cannot mix it. If you mix it, you'll get it wrong, right? The cost that you can see is the direct cost, right? So if that's the cost that you can see, so we up to about 4,500, 4,900 is the total cost of this accident. Yeah? You want to just take that down while I admit somebody else in the class? I think they got in. I think they got in. Yeah, I believe so. All right. Yeah. So just put a total down 4,900, right? So the indirect cost now is the knockdown cost, right? So the indirect cost, we could take some from here. We don't have to take some from here. We could just think about it. So the knockdown cost, first I have it on the slide. Let me just do 3 here for you so that you'll understand it, right? So the indirect cost is like when you approach now um, a repair company to repair that gate. They said, okay, this kind of motor, they don't sell parts of that kind of motor anymore, right? So when you thought you was going to pay $3,000, they say you can't get that anyway. You had to replace the whole gate, right? So the knockdown cost now is replacement cost that you didn't think about. Folks, I was trying to get to you all, listen up better. Remember NIBOSH. Remember, that's why I told some of you all to say, understanding and writing is more important here than anything else. The exam is called an open book exam, but you'll soon discover your book wouldn't help you. I told you all that in orientation, because the book don't have all the answers. Where are the answers?
It's like you're going to buy a car, and
Yeah.
the man said he's in a gas up. So you estimate 100 to gas up. So when you buy the car, not knowing is evaporator, condenser,
True.
how to change.
Correct.
So
The whole thing had to change, yeah. Yeah, so it's like that. Is it knockdown cost? Yeah. So I was telling you, all right, like NIBOSH doesn't actually just 3. There's actually like 10. So you have to understand the concept. If you understand the concept, you can actually make up the 10 then. Those of us in the book, I'll open just on, but let's focus on one thing, right? I only have 2 hands and 2 eyes, right? So let's finish up this. But when you look, you wouldn't see 10. But where the 10 coming from? Maybe ask you why it's 10 in direct cost. It's coming from you. You have to understand what the concept is. And as a tertiary, does it make NIBOSH easy and hard at the same time? Because you don't really have to study if you understand. If you understand, you can just go in the case study and make up, just get 10 in direct cost someday. Right? Anyway, let me finish up this one. So what you thought you was going to pay now, $3,000, you have to go and replace now the whole gate, right? Let's just say 10,000 TT. And I'm sure it's more than that for automated gates, but maybe more than that. I just going to put 10. Here's a decent figure, right? Let's talk about the worker now, right? So the worker who got the 3 days now, say you estimated, okay, that's going to cost the company $4,900, right? But it turns out now that the man have a slip disc. It turns out now that this man now can't come back to work, not in the immediate future, but the company, they keep paying him, right? So, I'll put back here some medical payments that you didn't plan for, right? So medical expenses, he have to keep getting his money, right? Let's say you decide, you may have to hire somebody else. If you look at you see that, okay, Frank is out. Frank is out. Frank seems to be out for the next 3 weeks, and we can't keep on covering for him. We had to hire somebody else, right? So the medical bills now for 2 weeks, which I thought was just 3 days, right? And then now you're going to hire somebody else now. Then you discover something. Frank was doing the work of 2 men. You discover Frank was doing the job of 2 persons. So no one person want to do that work. You're going to hire 2 persons now. Folks, I think you get to know the whole concept of direct and indirect costs. Once you get it, I'll stop, right? I'll just introduce one more thing here, which is OSHA, right? So OSHA comes on your scene now, and you get a fine. right? That's number 4, right? So the government, OSHA, the OSHA inspectors comes on your site now and they give you a fine for that accident, right? What your body getting, right? And OSHA fine in Trinidad is 10,000 TT. What how much money you end up spending, right? What how much money you end up spending, right? That OSHA fine minimum is 10,000 TT. Minimum, you see that just of every violation of the act, it have a lot of lines. Let's say it like that, it have a lot of lines, right? For every line you breach is 10,000 TT. So most likely you'll get more than 10,000. Most likely you get more than 10,000 fine, right? That's number 4. You're taking it down, I put in it here, fines. Don't wait now. If not anywhere, is it right here? Replacement costs, medical payments, the cost of rehiring and retraining, additional fines or fines from the government, right? Now, last one for now, because this is on the slide already. I just wanted to pull it out here for you to make it real last. I wouldn't be reading to you all the time. Otherwise, it'd be boring for you and for me, right? So just having it here, right? So on top of that now, Frank, let's call him Frank, comes in contact with somebody like me who tells him he have a lawsuit. He can make some money. That company have money. That's Atlantic LNG. I'm just making this up, right? So that's Atlantic LNG, right? Them have money. Them have insurance. If you sue them, you're doing them nothing. The money really coming from insurance. I don't know if you know that. Massey have money, right? Yeah, you could sue them. You really injured Frank. And yes, that is the case. You take up a civil case. Now talking from experience. Remember, I worked at Massey, right? I think I told you that. I was a safety professional there, right? So a typical lawsuit in Trinidad and Tobago, folks, you all heard the one this week? You all heard the one this week? I heard one yesterday in the news. Somebody was wrongfully accused, at least so they say. But he said so. That was the news. I just want the news. I don't really know the history of the case. And the person won $70-something thousand, which is kind of small money, but it was just a wrongful accusation. It wasn't like I don't think the person was in jail. The person may have been held overnight at the cell or whatever, but the person got for that wrongful accusation $70-something thousand, right? But civil claims in Trinidad and Tobago, folks, is over 500,000 TT. That's what they call a precedent. That's in the same lesson, but we're not reaching that today, right? Somebody call a precedent. A precedent means that a standard was set already. The standard that has been set in Trinidad and Tobago for civil claims is 500,000 TT. So let's say Frank come across somebody like me who convinces him to go and take up a case, right? You lose much more. See, if you understand Heinrich's point of view now, you lose about much more than what you thought you was going to pay. So if you understand, I'm about to clear that slide. If anybody write it down, let me know. And if you understand, I just want to clear up one word for you, and then we could move on to legal. That's it. That financial wasn't hard.
Yes, so the guy you're talking about from Tunapuna, $80,000, I think, was the
I know
fine for the overnight cost.
yeah.
It's actually like 77, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know workers who were injured in Atlantic LNG. I know attending from Massey, $500,000 in payouts. Remember that money not really coming from Massey pockets. If you have big companies have insurance, it has something called workman compensation. That's an insurance package by all insurance companies is given. Call Fire, Presidential, whoever you know now, right? Who again? Beacon, wherever insurance company, Massey have insurance. So, and not just them, if you sue a big company, the money don't come from them and it coming from the insurance. So a lot of people don't know that. But like how you know that now, as I tell you, if you come in contact with me, I have students who sued companies. Many times, many times, right? And some of them lecture for me and stuff now, right? About telling those stories as the class go along, right? Yeah, so you're not paying much more than what you thought you was going to pay anyway. Anybody have any questions with the theory of it? Like if you understand it, because if you understand it, what you could take into consideration now is that NEBOSH tends to test this, but they tend to test indirect costs, right? They tend to test this one here, indirect costs. You get more answers there then, right? They may ask you about 10 or 15, but the thing is with the exam question from last week, remember a lot of the answers right in the case study now. right? So you'll have to tie it in. So like if you say, or should I show you all one? Let's probably wait for the end. I'll try to see if I could find one, right? If I can't find one, well, maybe another class. But when you open a passive plan, remember you have to tie it and you have to say, in my opinion, an uninsured cost or an indirect cost is replacement of equipment. And then you relate that to the passage now, like whatever equipment they were talking about. Was it a crane, a forklift? Was it an exercise gym equipment? Was it in the kitchen? Was it a stove? Whatever it is they're talking about, you have to tie that into the passage, otherwise you wouldn't get a mark. Right? So you have to say this is seen in the case study where it was mentioned that the gym machines need to be totally replaced as opposed to repaired, something like that. Or the crane needs to be replaced as opposed to service, right? And you quoted from the case study. That's the key to passing this exam. I know we covered that on orientation. Your orientation, I think, is also live on YouTube. So if you missed it, you could often play it back, right? Anybody have any questions? Let me see, just one comment. If not, folks, we kind of waste some time if you have no questions. Let me check out you. Okay, so you all seem to be okay. Let me take that off. I told you all I wanted to clear up one word for you. I cleared my writing from it. And watch, it was all on the slide already. Watch, I have it all in the slide. But like I tell you, I didn't want to read it for you. The reading is boring. Damage of the building, product, equipment, and vehicles, the absence of employees, right? Uninsured costs is like your indirect costs. It include fines, sick pay, any damage to product, equipment, vehicles, or processes that wasn't insured, compensation not covered by insurance, increase in insurance premiums, accumulative business loss, product or process liability claims, recruitment of replacement staff. It actually have more. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to tell you. It's not limited to my slide. What if because of an accident, a company lost a tender? Which happened and happens. What if because of an accident, Atlantic said they want nothing to do with your company again, and they sent home everybody? Or ProMan sent home everybody, which they actually did. Right? It have more answers. Folks, you understand? Tertiary education is not like secondary school. In secondary school, they learn everything on this slide. But tertiary education is beyond that. It's like you could use what it have there as a starting point, but you could add to it now. You're free to say, in my opinion, I think an uninsured cost is, and you think about something else. Anybody thought of anything else? You think about loss of reputation, but I have that one here. Production delays, extra overtime payment, additional administrative time incurred, the lower employee morale following an accident, maybe any first aid equipment you have to replace, first aid bandages, right, that you have to replace because you use them up to clean up the person now, right? So you have to replace those things now, right? Cost that you didn't think about at first, right? Anyway, I wanted to tell you what insured and uninsured is, because I told you NEBOSH use, well, some of the exam questions, they use the word insured instead of direct, and they use the word uninsured instead of indirect. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Talking about this, sir, I remember a time I used to work in TGU, sir, Trinidad Generation Limited, and they had a Paramount had the crane contract for TGU, and they brought in a crane for a shutdown, and the crane was leaking. So they have decided to hire a next company to come in and do the work, and the TGU itself decided, okay, if these people can do this unembarrassed themselves, they end up signing up the whole company and hire the company Paramount Brain.
I know. Yes, that's what they do. This year had one in it with Chinpaya, if anybody know about that. They sent home all our Chinpaya workers in them. And Chinpaya, not 100 and something workers, those 100 and something people didn't do nothing wrong, and one person do something wrong. One person did something wrong, and they, well, sent home everybody, all of Chinpaya. They lost the contract. So that's something you didn't think about. That you didn't imagine you watching, you get a contract, right, with ProMan, something $1 million, right? Because 100 workers shouldn't pay a higher, right? You watching the $1 million, and then one worker do something wrong, cause an accident. Yeah, the direct cost may just be replacement equipment, but you lost the contract, right? So that you didn't think about that is a indirect cost, right? Anyway, folks with insured and uninsured. But two things here, right? The first one, NIBOSH is not gonna ask you what the word means, but I want to tell you what the word means. What they use the word instead of direct. Then instead of saying direct, they say insured. Instead of saying indirect, they say uninsured. But the truth is, the word actually have a meaning, but they're not gonna ask you the meaning of the word. What the word really means is that they actually take out insurance for these things here. Like insurance, called fire, beacon, could actually cover these things. So that's why it's called insured cost. Like Beacon, then whoever insurance company with, right? Trinri, Guardian, right? They could cover your equipment because it's a piece of equipment. But if you understand, no insurance company would actually cover, watch this, no insurance company would actually cover your loss of your reputation, the image of the company. Insurance companies don't cover that. Insurance company covers things that are real, things that are hard, like your vehicle. Your vehicle would have insurance. Your house could have insurance. If you put insurance in your house will be called insured. But if you don't have insurance in your house is uninsured. You understand that a bit? What makes it insured and uninsured is the fact that you take out insurance for it. But NIBOSH, so that's the meaning of the word. But NIBOSH don't really ask the meaning of the word. They just substitute the word, and instead of saying direct, they would say insured. And instead of saying indirect, they would say uninsured. But I told you the word mean insured mean they really got insurance for this. Like Beacon actually covered it. And uninsured meant you didn't get insurance for this, right? Folks, give me 1 minute again. Somebody is at the door. All right, thanks for the time again. What happened? I normally let I show you also a coordinator if anybody came in today, but I normally let them leave 3 o'clock. So if we have anybody coming at the office, I tend to handle them once it's after 3, right? And it just so happened 2 persons came knocking there at the door, right? Okay, so if you're okay with that, I think we cannot delay too much on this thing. I think you're okay with this. Unless if you're not okay, please let me know if you're not okay with it. But the thing is, a lot of the answers, I have them on the slide here. And then the other thing is a lot of the answers, you're really going to get them from the case study anyway, right? So let's go to the other concept. Remember, look how much I have here. Look how much I have here, right? So, by the way, if you had the book, I tell you the book didn't have so much. Those of us in the book, page 4. Right? They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 answers alone. It have more answers here than that. It started way down here, way up here, sorry. Right? So you'll find that with my presentations, normally it have a bit more than what the book have. But whichever source of information you feel to use now, right? And if you have your book, I know some of us have it, so I prefer that you use it. So I'll kind of show it. So that's what I tell you, page 4. So that you could go back and look there. But whichever source of information you try to look at, just try to understand the concept, because a lot of times when they ask you for the indirect cost then or the uninsured cost, they want it from the case study. I'm not too sure if you understand that. So if the case study didn't have first aid, then you cannot use first aid as an answer. You have to read it and understand, okay, as you read the question, you realize, okay, well, there may be additional training, but it's not first aid. Maybe training in a forklift operation or training in manual handling. So then you have to change your answer. Like you have to say, in my opinion, an uninsured cost is there'll be additional training for manual handling. You understand, folks? Remember, you have to have your head on for this exam, right? This exam is a kind of thinking man exam. You can't really prepare or learn too much before, because it's not a memory-based exam, it's a thinking exam. It's like a on-the-spot kind of exam, right? If you see something like if you did not see overtime payment, then you cannot use that. When you read the case study, it had not but overtime, right? But as you read the case study, I'm trying to make up one on the spot, and you read the case study, if you see they mention something like, like what I said before, like a new piece of equipment, and that equipment is not available, it's outdated, then you could say that, and in my opinion, an uninsured cost is that they need them to purchase a new type of technology or a new piece of equipment that will do the job then that you saw in the case study, right? So you have to be careful when you look at notes, because I'm not sure, I think I said this to you before, it's an open book exam, but the book cannot help you. You had to help you. You had to understand the concept and you had to help you, right? The book is used, the slides are used, but that's why it's open book. NEBOSH is smart. They want to see what you're thinking about. And as I said, the concept is more important than any set of notes, because it's unlikely that you would see the same set of notes here, every single line in your case study. There'll be new things, there'll be some old things, there'll be some new things, but it's if you understand the concept, right? Let's go forward with this, right? Yeah, analytical reason. And that's why it's open book, right? Because they know it's not, it's not like you're reading back and you're copying back the line and you're copying back the line. It is more like a common sense exam then. Comprehension is how we call it when we did our orientation, right? All right, I'm trying to see how to skip into the other one, right? So the other reason to manage health and safety is the legal reason. So the first thing here, I hope you all have some writing paper as well, right? The first thing here is that there's a law for health and safety in the UK, and that is what this course is based on, right? So the law is called, I'm going to write it here for you. If you have the book, you'll see it on page 7. We have it here, right? So it's called the health, and I write it here for you too. So you can't say you didn't see it, right? And I shouted it as well. It's called the health and safety. Health and safety health and safety at Work Act. The year is 1974. I know you spot that on the slide already, right? The Health and Safety at Work Act 1974. Now, there's a lot to say about this law, but none of it is exam, right? There's a lot of history with this law, but the history is not exam then. But I want to just tell you one thing about the law before we go back into the thing then, right? So the modern acronym they use is HSW. However, an acronym is just an acronym. An acronym is a fun way of remembering something longer. So anybody that didn't watch like some years ago, that what they used to say is to put the A in it. So the acronym was HACWA, Health and Safety at Work, right? Well, Act, right? So they used to put all the A's in it and the AAA. But today, like I guess 2024, then the modern acronym is just HSW Act, right? As a certificate student, there's really not a need for you to say the year. If you say it or you don't say it, you don't get the mark. Because it's open book too, they don't really give you the mark for saying the year. Before the pandemic, though, you know, they would pick up a mark for saying the year, but how the exam is now, you don't have to say the year. It's an open book exam. You could open the slide and get the year, right? And the acronym today is HSW. But an acronym is an acronym. So if you want to remember HACWA, fine, that's up to you. It's not going to help you because you really do have to remember, because it's an open book exam. You can just open the book and the slide and see what's the meaning of the law, right? Anyway, what I wanted to tell you about the law wasn't that. That was just the acronym, right? What I want to tell you about the law is this, and I wanted to write this down. It's not an exam, but in a way it is. You'll see when I say it, right? So here's the thing, right? So most of the Caribbean countries, Canada, which is not Caribbean, of course, but I come out of the Caribbean. So most of the Caribbean countries, Canada, America, Australia, we all got our act from this act here. Like, we didn't make it up. Like, we, Trinidad and Tobago, didn't make up their own Ash Act then. Right? Guyana, I just put 3 countries, right? Guyana didn't make up their own law either. If you want Grenada, right? You can put Canada and think about it, just give you 3, right? So most Caribbean countries here, Guyana is part of a continent, but it classes as a Caribbean country, right? So most Caribbean countries, America, Canada, out of the Caribbean, of course, didn't make up their own law. We just took this one. Anybody can say why? Why you think we all took this law? So what I'm trying to tell you is this: the TT Ash Act is the HSW Act. The Guyana Ash Act is the HSW Act. The Grenada 2015 Ash Act is the HSW Act. The American Ash Act is the HSW Act. The Canadian Ash Act is the HSW Act. Why do you think that happened? Why do you think we just took? Why do you think we just took the HSW Act? Why do you think Guyana just took the HSW Act? There's a nice reason for that.
So it's a big
Well, we were a British colony.
Very good. And yeah, we were, and so is Canada. Canada, you know, is still part of the British. Do you know Grenada is part of the British Commonwealth? You know Trinidad is part of the Commonwealth still? Do you know that Grenada doesn't have a president? Right? The president, the head of state of Grenada is the King of England. Do you all know that? Do you know the head of state of Canada is the King of England? Maybe now is a time to tell you a little story, right? I have a student, well, he's a lecturer now for me, right? Christopher. Christopher left Trinidad. It had more behind it, but he left Trinidad, went to Canada. He was in my office a couple of weeks ago, right? Came back and stuff to visit, right? He said he went to an interview in Canada. And he said the first thing they saw was NIBOSH. And the first interview he actually got through. Right? But he said later on he discovered that the person who interviewed him was from the UK. But remember what I just said, Canada still is under the King of England, right? They just saw the NIBOSH and they took him. He's still working there today, right? So this is a story to tell you. This is Christopher from Tabaquite, not Christopher from England, right? Christopher from Tabaquite. I won't tell you his last name, right? He's not in Tabaquite anymore, as far as I know, right? He may visit back his family there and stuff, right? So I'm trying to show you now, like the TT Ashak is the HSW, and the answer you all said was perfect. We were all under the British, and even though Trinidad today is a republic, we have a president. Right? You know, anyway, like when it was time then for Trinidad, Guyana, Grenada, Canada, America to get an act, there was no need to invent another one because the HSW Act was good. Look at what it said. And if anybody know our act, we say the same thing. What would the act said? The employer is to provide a safe place of work. You go anywhere, you still see that. You go to Flow to pay a bill, you go to Digicel, you go to B-Mobile, you go to a company, you go to Atlantic LNG. This is the same thing they commit to. We're going to provide safe plant and equipment, but this didn't originate from Trinidad, right? They're going to provide a safe system of work for you. They're going to provide safe and competent fellow employees for you. The companies, if you go to TNTech to pay a bill, watch on this side, you'll see the policy, you'll see these things, right? You see these commitments. They're going to provide adequate levels of information, instruction, but these lines didn't come from Trinidad. It didn't come from Sparrow. They were not like Calypso was invented here then, right? These are all from the British, right? The company that you are at, you're visiting, you're paying a bill or whatever, they're going to provide adequate levels of welfare facilities for you. No, you don't have to learn anymore for exam. It's an open book exam. You can just open this slide and see it, right? So anywhere you go, I want you all to kind of remember, Christopher, just like what I tell you there, anywhere you go, anywhere you end up. Yesterday, a student was here. Today is Saturday, right? The guy name is Nkomo. I met him in Guyana. I actually forget that guy. Is anybody? I met him. I didn't see him in years, and that's my first time I went in Guyana. People were shouting me out because I thought students were all over the place now, right? I remember standing on a balcony in a hotel in Guyana, and somebody shouted past, people passing, and the taxis, they are very, very fast. Guyana driving is not like Trinidad driving. The best way they describe it is India. If you've seen any videos of India driving and Dubai and stuff like that, but not Dubai. Dubai is kind of decent, so my mistake. But India itself now, they driving in Guyana is kind of reckless, right? But people were shouting me out. And the point is, what I'm trying to say here is that wherever you go, don't doubt yourself. You can get work. If you're in an interview in Guyana, you're in an interview in Canada like Christopher, you're in an interview in Dubai like Mark. Yeah, that's our next story. I won't tell you that one. Like Mark. I can't tell you Mark's last name. Mark is kind of famous in Trinidad, right? But I'll say Mark Santa Flora because he work in Heritage, right? Safety manager. That's enough to tell you, right? So you go on somewhere, you're in an interview and they ask you, what was the duty of the employer? What do you think the employer is supposed to do? All you have to do is remember the same thing you learn in class here. It doesn't matter if you're in Guyana, Canada, Grenada. I saw one for Jamaica. Jamaica had a vacancy last week and they wanted NIBOSH, right? So what you could do for yourself, not for exam, what you can do for yourself is learn some of this. Because remember, the exam is open to everything, right? But you should learn some now. Like you can learn some, like the duty of the employer to provide training for me. There's a fun way of remembering this one. I don't know if you want to remember one. I may ask it in our next class, which will probably be next year, right? There's a fun way of remembering this, which is it is, right? Information. You don't remember nothing. I just tell you if you're in an interview. You don't remember for exam. But if you're in an interview, you can remember the actual what's the duty of the employer to provide information for me, a JSA, provide training, provide instruction, and provide supervision. Well, welfare is a nice one. Everybody's supposed to remember welfare, right? But some of them on top nice too. Safe access and egress, safe plant and equipment. You should learn some for yourself. right? So let me show you something here now. Tell me if you understand that. That's the fun fact I wanted to tell you. The fun fact I wanted to tell you, it doesn't matter what country you go to. We were all kind of under the British, including Hong Kong. I recently discovered that, right? Hong Kong was under the British too. So even there too. Yeah, it have Trinidadians is go Hong Kong shopping. You know, a lot of business people, right? Okay, I'm taking that off, right? And let's kind of get back. I want to show you something here. Remember, I said we wouldn't finish, but I want to show you something here, right? Could I leave, I've taken off the words, but I'll leave in the acronym, right? So here the thing, right? The act now have different sections in it, as some of you would have guessed, right? So if you want, now I did it on the slide, so I cannot give myself double work, right? If you want to show it on the slide. But if you're writing too, I could make it simpler for you now, right? The act have different sections, right? So the two most tested sections is section 2 and section 7, right? And if you want to take that down, and I could show it on the slide, but I could write it for you too. We still have a half an hour to go, right? So the HSW Act have different sections. Now here the thing, NEBOSH is free to test any section, right? However, the most tested sections is section 2 and section 7. But what we could do here, if you're writing, I could tell you what the other sections have in it. Section 3, section 4. You understand? And then you could go and just watch it on the slide now, right? There's no section 5. Section 6 never came for exam. Section 7. Section 8. Let's see if we could finish with section 9. However, just give me a minute. I have a student. This guy is late with his payment. But I'll leave the mic on. Yeah, hi, good day.
So this is our speaker. That's not it. Beyond now.
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right.
So I'll be there in about 15 minutes.
No problem. Take your time, yeah. Yeah. Actually, so it actually have until section, but not all the sections on the syllabus, right? So I kind of out of space there now. But if you're writing, could you go down? It have section.
So why doesn't it have a section 5?
I'll tell you just now. I can't
Okay.
remember what sections on the syllabus. Section 36, 37 is the next 2 sections on your syllabus. Now, so to answer that question, it actually have enough. Well, actually have a good reason why I don't have a section 5. But like some of the sections that missing, like if you've not seen section 10, so could you go to section 36? These are the ones on your syllabus. And that itself should tell you, right? Remember, it have different levels to the NEBOSH now, right? So you do get to study the other sections, but on the certificate syllabus, these are the sections on your syllabus. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is supposed to be 36, and I'm looking like 26, but because the thing's so low there now, right? 36 and 37. And the 2 most popular ones is this one, section 2, and section 37. But let me tell you why I do have a 5 in the first place. As the question was asked, why it doesn't have a 5, right? So it did have a 5, but 5 had dealt with the environment, right? And as luck would have it, they created a separate law for the environment. Like how we have the Environmental Management Act in Trinidad and Tobago. You know, we have a law for the environment in Trinidad. We have the EM Act. We have the OSH Act, right? So we kind of got the EM Act from the UK as well. So because they had a separate law for the environment, they repealed Section 5. So Section 5 no longer exists. With respect to section 10, 11, 12, going up to 36, they are there, but they're just not on your syllabus. Not all the sections are taught at the level 3 level, right? But they are there. There is a section 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 15, actually very interested. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20s is the powers of the inspector. 21, 22 and stuff, all of that is powers of the inspector. It goes up to about section, it actually have more than 37 to it. Actually have section 40 and thing too, right? But in your syllabus, these are the only sections on your syllabus. Tell me if you all understand that. And the fact that section 5 was actually repealed because it pertained to the environment, but then they created a law for the environment, so they kind of took it off because it didn't make sense having two laws saying the same thing for the environment, right? Anyway, anybody have any questions here? Did you all write it down? Folks, you believe I have this on the slide and I'm giving myself double work, but you see, in a way, I think you all understand it better. So I have a summary to the end of the PowerPoint. Yeah, like to the end of the PowerPoint, look, I have the different sections here. See them, section 2, 3, 4, no 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 36, 37. So it's here on this slide. But I kind of doing it like this so that you'll understand it a bit better too now, right? If you have this slide, this will be slide 73. I did a summary to the end. Anyway, let's see why section 2 and section 7 is that important. So the reason why section 2 and 7 is that important is that section 2, you can probably see it from here, is the duty on the employer. Section 2 is the duty on the employer. Remember, we're looking at, just to get back to the point, the 3 reasons to manage health and safety. First was a moral reason. It's the right thing to do. It's your consciousness. The second thing is that there's a financial reason. It makes better sense to prevent an accident than to deal with the consequences of paying so much more money that you thought you was going to pay. And then the legal reason is that the law is saying the employer have certain duties on them, and that is said in section 2, right? The employer duty is section 2. So why is section 7 so important? Section 7, you want to see for yourself? Let's kind of go down a bit here. You'll see for yourself. 7 is the next heavy tested section because section 7 is the duty on who? 7 is the duty on? Anybody want to say?
Employees.
On
Employees.
you, yeah, exactly. Our duties. Same thing in Trinidad, and it doesn't change. It don't change in Grenada either. 35 minutes from here. Hour and a half from here. Don't change in Guyana either. And I guess 2 hours, it won't change in America or Canada either. Right? So most exam questions are focused on the duty of the employer or the duty of the employees. Right? What I was saying, I don't think I could do all the sections, right? But if we could focus on one, and you could use that concept then for the other sections, given the fact that there are no questions on section 6, none on 8, none on 9, couple of marks on 36, 37. But if you know how to use the slide for section 2, section 2 is the most tested section anyway, 7 kind of famous as well. You can use it for the other sections, right? So what you'll see, I wouldn't write over these because I have it on the slide. What you'll see is the duty of the employer, right? That you saw on the slide before. But here it's match up to the specific number and letter. So section 2.2a, the employer is to provide provision and maintenance of plant and systems of work, or safe plant and safe systems of work. 2.2b, the employer is to provide safe handling, storage and transport of articles and substances. Safe handling, transport, storage of articles and substances. 2.2c, the company is to provide, the employer to provide, we said this one, information, training, instruction, and supervision. 2.2d, the employer / company manager is to provide maintenance of safe place of work with adequate levels of access and egress. Access means a place to get in. Egress means a place to come out. Section 2.2e, adequate facilities and welfare arrangements so far as is reasonably practicable, right? Tell me if you understand. Well, then, I mean, it's just, I extract from the law. It's not really to understand. Those of us in the book, those same 5, let me find it for you, is on page 22. It only have 5, by the way, in the book. However, if you look at my slide, I have some more on the other slide. I did tell you the slides are more stuff than the book. Those of us in the book, it stopped right there. But it didn't really stop there. It actually have more to the law. So I put some more for you all. The only thing you need to renumber it for me, right? So this one's supposed to be, this is 22E. The numbering is a bit off, right? This actually supposed to be F. But these are not in your syllabus, so I don't really make a deal out of these. The point of these is that it have more. The law didn't stop at E here. 22E then. It went on and on. I just put 5 additional, right? So this supposed to be 22F. The employers to prepare and revise as necessary a health and safety policy. It must be in writing if you have 5 or more employees. This is F. This one will be G. The employers to provide and maintain, but provide here for the appointment of a health and safety representative from a recognized trade union. So this is F, G. This will be H. The employer to provide safety representative, and I, 22I, establish a health and safety committee if requested. The point is the law have more than just 5 then. I just wanted to prove that point. As these not on the syllabus, you don't really have to bother too much of these, but the point is it have more than 5, right? Now, getting back to your exam, if you want, let's kind of touch on that a bit. Remember, this is exam. If something is exam, we shouldn't run over it then. We need to pause and have a look at it, right? But I kind of out of space because I wrote all the sections, right? So all the sections, if you want, is right. If you want, you could fill it out. I don't know if you want to do that. I don't know if you want to fill it out, but I'm not going to write it out. Because it's on my slide already. If you wrote it down, you could write it out. Section 3 is the duty of employers on non-employees. So you can just put here non-employees. It already on the slide, big and bold, right? Well, a good question to ask here is who is a non-employee? And why does the employer have a duty to non-employees? Anybody could say who is a non-employee?
That could be a visitor to the site.
Very good. Anybody else want to add? A visitor to the site?
Customer.
Contractors.
Say it again.
Contractors.
Very good, contractors. Very good, very good. And basically anybody, you know, like a police officer, a fireman, a consultant like me. If I go into your company, I'm a visitor. What about the pie man by the gate? What about the person coming to sell Christmas decorations? They coming in. If you all have been in the Point Jesus industrial site here, lunchtime, and you all know that it have vendors in cars. They will come. Pigeon Point too, if you're familiar with Tobago a bit. Vendors will pull up breakfast too in an 80 wagon or a food truck. And in 15 minutes, all that food sell out. Right? If you know about New Iron, you know about SIS, you know where these food vehicles has be, right? You know where these, and just come in the gate with the guard may allow them inside in some companies. So that's a visitor, right? So what Section 3 is meant for, listen to it, is meant to say, listen to it, the same care you take of your employees, you must take of the non-employees. That's what Section 3 is meant to say. What you take? Take care of the health and safety for non-employees. Think about a child. Think about you pick up a child from school, and a child could be big. A child ought to be always, you know, infants kind of thing. A child could be a big person too, like 13, 14, 15 years, right? But you take them up from school and the person want to use the washroom. You are the parent, you are the guardian, right? But you bring them in the office and they want to use the washroom. Would they not be able to use the washroom? Yes, they will be able to use the washroom, right? Would they be able to go to your company cafeteria and purchase something? Yes, they will go and purchase it, right? Hear what I'm telling you. Section 3, the same duty that the company have to their employees, they must have to the non-employee. Would they give them information about where to go and where not to go, where is an unauthorized area? Would they give them, if an emergency alarm is sounded, would they not take the person to the muster point? The answer is yes, right? So let's keep that in mind as a way to remember Section 3. The same duty you have for your employee, you must have for the non-employee. A non-employee could be a delivery person. Come in Amazon, DHL, FedEx, right? Bringing a gift or something for you for Christmas, right? So that Amazon, not Amazon, that DHL, that FedEx, that Tropical Courier Express, that person coming to deliver, that person is a non-employee, but in your compound looking for you, right? At the same time, they want to get a drink of water, they want to use the washroom, whatever, you know, so they'll be able to use it. That's section 3. Hopefully you wrote it out. I wasn't going to do it like this, but I end up doing it, right? I end up telling you what it is. I'm not doing too much of it. I'm still trying to summarize it with the hope that you could read out most of it for yourself still, right? Section 4. Is the person in control of your building? Yes. Not every time the building that you are in is owned by you. Sometimes it's owned by a landlord. Think about the mall. Think about a business center. Think about an industrial estate. Right? It's owned by somebody, right? The owners of Movie Town that, as far as I know, I might be wrong, doesn't own C3. C3 Cinema has an owner, right? I guess Massey own a lot of their buildings now, right? But you get the point. I guess if you're in Gulf City Mall, C3 Mall, the Michael and Jody's there, the sports and games, the Wonderful World doesn't own Gulf City Mall, right? They are like a tenant. There's an owner, right? So section 4 is meant for the owners. It's said to be the persons in control of premises that they have to make sure that the place is safe, make sure they have adequate access and egress, make sure that they have safe plants and substances. The duty on like a landlord. Have you all ever rented? You know anybody who rented? Right? A lot of companies rent. So the ultimate security then, the ultimate upkeep of the property may be that of the landlord, right? So the same duty of a landlord is the duty of a person under section 4 then. The person that owns the property have certain obligations, right? That's section 4. Section 6 is the duty on manufacturers. If you can't relate it, think about your phone. The manufacturer of your phone have a duty to you to ensure that that phone is safe and without risk to your health. But this could be any piece of equipment, a drill, a chemical, medicine, could be whatever, but you could think about your phone, right? They have to make sure that whatever you're using is safe when it is set, clean, used, and maintained. If it is a chemical, it must be without risk to health when they are used, handled, stored, or transported, right? The manufacturer of a product, again, think about your phone, right? They have to make sure that they give you instructions with it, which is on the next slide, that they give you information about your product, which we Trinidadians would normally, just toss away because we know more than the manufacturers. And then who have time to read all of that instructions anyway, right? But the duty on the manufacturer is to provide you with the information. And then with some products, some equipment, some devices, you are given a warranty, right? So if you buy something from Quartz, you buy something from, any sort of electronics store today, you'll ask about the warranty, right? So the duty on the manufacturer is to give you a warranty. Now, again, it's not phones we're talking about. This could be equipment and whatever have you, but you can relate it by that, right? The other thing is that the manufacturer have to make sure that those things are safe when they are tested and examined. And we'll stop with this one today. I'll just mention the passive after this one. The duty on the employees worldwide is 2 main duties. The 2 duties of the employee is to take reasonable care of the health and safety of yourself and others who may be affected by your actions or your omissions. What is an omission? An omission is your failure to act. An omission is your failure to act. Listen to it, right? To take reasonable care of yourself. To take reasonable care of yourself and that of others who could be affected by your actions or your omissions. An omission is your failure to act. Like you were the last person that drove the company vehicle. You felt the brakes kind of feeling a bit strange, but you didn't say anything. But that's an omission, right? You were the last person to use the company drill. Even in the kitchen, maybe the electric kettle. You notice the thing overheating and the thermostat wasn't tripping off, but you say nothing. You report anything, right? You're the last person to use a drill, as I was saying, and it had a short circuit, but you didn't say anything. That's an omission. Your duty is to take care of yourself and that of your fellow man. right? The other duty, second one here, is to cooperate with the employer and others to enable them to fulfill their legal obligation. For instance, the company took the time and the money to purchase PPE. So your duty now is to wear it. The company took the time to book a trainer to come in to do manual handling training or hazard chemical training, right? They call it HAZWAPA, right? Or whatever, defensive driving training, but you decide to take a day off. You say, okay, today is just training, so I will stay home today, right? But if that is provided, then it's your duty to cooperate with the employer to enable them to fulfill their legal obligation. Take again, it's a bit wisdom, you know, you can read out the rest, but I'll take it up from here when we have our next official class anyway, right? So what we did today, we covered the financial reasons to manage health and safety. And we introduced the main law for health and safety to the world, which is the HSW Act 1974, to which the world then got their act anyway, coming out of that, right? If you have what we have how much time we have? Okay, I have somebody at the door. So if you give me a minute, I'm gonna just attend to this person. I want to come back and just mention, I'm gonna clean the screen and probably mention a past paper for you. If I have one here, let me see if I have one here. I have one here, right? So I'm just gonna open one. I'm gonna share that with you all. I really don't know what it have in it, right? But because look, I just open it, right? I didn't see what it have in it, right? Some years do. Okay, look this one here. Watch section 7. I'm gonna leave this on screen for you and attend to the person in the door. I'll come back to you. Let's give me one. All right. So again, thanks for the time. I did mention this weird time of the day that nobody works till after 4 on a Saturday, except me. There's a thing when you have your own business, huh? For those of us who know, right? There's a thing when you have your own thing. I do have workers, but then to get, and you know, the thing is they paid pretty well, but the thing is still to keep somebody back here till after 4 on a Saturday is not humane. Speaking of moral reason to manage health and safety, right? Anyway, so I was kind of lucky. I told you I didn't plan this, you know. You saw me, I opened the first passive I saw when I went up there just now. And look, they actually tested section 7, right? So again, I wouldn't like to give you this because we haven't had much. I like to talk to you all about it. Like when they say a comment on how the new factory worker may have breached their duties under section 7 of the HSW Act, what you have to go on to, right? I'm just gonna analyze it for you. I don't know if you want to, right? You have to go and find 5 breaches by the employee. But here the trick. I don't know if you all saw the trick. I don't know if you all saw the trick. The trick is, right, if you're going to get 5 breaches of the employee, could I ask, I'll give you a hint here, right? Could I ask how much duties it had for the employees in the act? How much duties it have? Was it 1? Was it 2? Was it 3? Was it 4? Was it 5? Does it have 5 breaches of the employees? Does it have 5 duties of the employees? But that's a yes or no question. The question is, does it have 5 duties of the employees? When you saw it on the slide, how much you saw?
2.
Two.
2, sir.
Okay, so if it have 2, how, according to the Rock, Dwayne Johnson, right? How in the blue hell will we get 5? How we getting 5 if the duties only have 2? Any suggestions? So the 2 duties were to work safe. I'm just gonna put them back. Let's put our starter here. Work safe as they not endanger yourself or others. Right? So you had to work safe, and the other one was to cooperate with the employer. But how you getting 5 if it only have 2 duties? Any suggestions, anybody?
The actions that the employee took in the case study.
But they want a breach of the law. They want a breach of the law, right? Comment on how the new factory worker may have breached their duties under section 7. This is coordinator, DINATE, right? Coordinate, right? Cooperate, sorry, this is cooperate, my mistake. What stupidness am I writing? Right. Doesn't say you press for time. This is supposed to be cooperate with the employer, right? So cooperate. Right. Anybody else? This is it had no wrong answer to this, and folks, it's only you and I. Nibosh is not really looking in us yet. Unless you
So
look to
unless
see
you
the video.
divide it,
Yeah, that's what you have to do. You
Yeah.
have to do that. You have to do that. You have to go back to it then. Yeah, they keep going back to those 2. In other words, let me try to open back the PowerPoint if I could. Where is it? You have to keep going back to it then. But not that. I mean, the part with the law, right? You have to keep going back to those 2. In other words, then you have to find like more than one example where the employee didn't take care of himself and where he didn't take care of another person. And you have to find more than one example where they didn't cooperate with the employer. They get 5 in all them, but they keep revisiting these 2. Think you understand that? They keep going back to the well then. The well with the water. But the water and well only have 2. So we just have to use 2. Right? Think you get it a bit? Anybody okay with that? Let's try to find one. If you want, we could try to find one. With 3 minutes to go. Right? So what I could do, we could try to see if they mention anything. The case study normally have like headings on it. What we're talking about. You see, I could have a heading here, near miss incident. So you could try to zone down on something like that now. Right? Health and safety changes. Textile making process. We don't really want that, I guess. But I guess, so based on the 3 minutes I have, I'm going to try to spot read it a bit and see if you could find something that the employee, was it the worker? We need to be kind of clear on that though. Who did they say? Let me go back and see, right? Okay, so the new factory worker. Okay, so that's the focus, the new factory worker. Right? And let's see if we could find at least one, right? And that's how you do it. And then you say, then you say something like, in my opinion, the new factory worker broke section 7.1 in that they did not, take care of themselves or others. And then you quote the line from here. He said, this is in the case study where it was mentioned, and you get it from there, right? So a week later, one of the new factory workers, and the question is about that or those persons, right? So a week later, one of the new factory workers is assigned the task of transferring a large order of textile from the knitting area to the vessel in the dyeing area. Supervisor R tells the new factory worker that because of an error with the delivery date of this order, they need to speed up, as this needs to be completed as soon as possible. Supervisor R is due to finish their shift in 15 minutes, but wants to leave early to attend a personal event. They tell the new factory worker that the new supervisor due on shift, Supervisor S, is probably around somewhere. So they are fine to go on with their tasks. Concerned, the new factory worker starts to question being left alone on a machine they had not previously used. Supervisor R shouts that the new factory worker should do as they are told or report you to the owner, then leaves. Now remember, we don't want the supervisor. We want what the new factory worker is doing wrong, right? Folks, you understand that? Be careful with NEBOSH as an open book exam, but use your common sense too. Don't assume anything. The question is not about Supervisor R as yet. That's the other part of the question. We haven't really done section 36 as yet. There are 10 rows of textile for the new factory worker to transfer to the dyeing area. Worried that they would not finish on time, they quickly began loading the textile into the dyeing vessel. They forced the textile from 4 rows into the vessel before they start the machine. So this is one right here. They force the textile from 4 rows into the vessel before they start the machine. Worried that they would not finish on time, they quickly began loading the textile into the dyeing vessel. Let's get back to the question, right? Remember what you have to say. Watch what you have to say. NEBOSH is easy and hard. Remember I told all of that. It's easy, hard, right? So what you have to say, you have to understand the technique. You have to say, the new factory worker may have breached their duties under Section 7 of the Health and Safety at Work Act in that they did not work safe as to protect themselves. And then you go back in the case study now and you say, this is seen where the new factory worker forced the textile from 4 something into that machine. Think you understand it, folks? And that's one answer. You have to get 5 like that. No, I could get another one because the person hurry now. So you could use that too again. You can say, remember, each answer is standalone. What does that mean? Everyone you had to start over. Everyone you had to start over. The second answer you get, you have to come back here and you have to say the new factory worker may have breached their duties under Section 7 of the HSW Act again. In that they did not work safe again to endanger themselves, and they did endanger themselves and others. And this is seen where they hustled the task then, and you could get back. You can get back from up here, right? They did the job in a hurried manner or a fast manner, a fast-paced manner. And you can say this is seen in the case study where it was mentioned they were worried that they would not finish on time. They quickly began loading textiles into the dyeing vessel. Once you do that, that's 2 marks, right? It's not hard, but it's not easy either, right? If you don't do it like this, then you don't pass. And there's no reason not to do it like this because it's too easy. At the same time, you have to actually type up these things and put them together, right? Once you catch that, folks, you could pass NEBOSH. Remember, we said on orientation, if you miss orientation, it's on YouTube, 1 mark per answer. If this is correct and you give the line, the supporting line, 1 mark. That's how they mark it. This is 1 mark, this is 1 mark, this is 1 mark, this is 1 mark. You get 5 out of 5 for that. If you give them 2, you get 2 out of 5. If you give them 3, and one of them didn't have the supporting line, they will give you 2 out of 5. Right? Once you understand the beast now, you can deal with the beast. Right? It's not easy, but it's not hard either. It's easier than most people think. I often say it is kind of long because that's 1 day of exams, right? But it's 24 hours you have, 24 hours, to get, how much questions it had? Let me just go down and see. This paper had sometimes 8 questions, just, sorry, the marker, sorry. And I know you all, I know you want to leave as well. I literally have been kind of sitting and just taking 5-minute breaks since 8:30, right? So this paper had 9 questions. Some papers don't have so much. Some papers have 7 questions, 6 questions, but 9 questions is a whole day work. That's what I'm trying to show you. 9 questions will take you the whole day, right? And probably some of the night too, if you're typing slow like me. Most men until you can't type fast. No exception here, unless if you did typing in school. I didn't. Right? Let me stop the recording here. Right, folks. Let me let you all go.